big booty caked up Latinas. Okay, now that I've got your attention, you've heard of the Dream Fallout blunt rotation. We all have. Okay, maybe you haven't, damn. But what if we tackle the inverse? The Nightmare Fallout blunt rotation, which is basically just a group of Fallout characters that you couldn't imagine having a worse time smoking up with. They're usually characterized as crash outs, really stressful to be around, or just annoying. And the Fallout franchise has all of those and then some, which made me wonder, just who would be on the Nightmare Fallout blunt rotation? Now, in addition to us determining the characters in the Nightmare Fallout blunt rotation, I'll also be determining their role in the rotation and how they'd impact it, usually for the worse. And at the end of the video, I'll also kind of describe how the smoke session would play out with the group and how they would culminate together. Oh yeah, and this time, I won't be using some ass point system. That was terrible. I see why that video did so bad now. So with that being said, let's get lit. Throughout the Fallout franchise, there's always been someone behind the scenes, ruining the game. And it's this goddamn fucking rodent Snuffles. Okay, realistically though, I don't know why the franchise collectively despised this rodent so much. Is Jabbo to blame for this? Like, what the flip did Snuffles do? Okay, I'm partially putting him here just to not upset the masses. I just know I'm gonna get lynched if I don't include the rodent behind the slaughter. Now, Snuffles in the blunt rotation would probably be the one who gets way too faded and starts to see geometric shapes, or so the Stickman YouTubers say. Believe it or not though, this one isn't a joke pick, as animals can get high on weed. However, it isn't enjoyable or healthy for them, as they're extremely sensitive to THC. Now what I just said mainly applies to dogs, and believe it or not, there aren't any studies into mole rats using THC because the internet isn't full of chronically online Fallout chuds. So, we're just going to assume that Snuffles follows the same rule of weed as dogs, because look at him, he's basically just a pug, he's adorable. Conspiracy theorists, or at least the extreme ones, are some of the most tiresome people on this planet. They refuse to believe reason, even when it's on its knees sucking them off. And Crazy Myrna is one of these people, hence the name. And you already know why she would suck to smoke up with. Myrna, stone cold sober, already accuses the sole survivor of being a synth and shows prejudice for that. Throw the Zaw into the occasion, and she's pulling a gun on you because she thinks you're gonna replace her or kill her in her sleep. The textbook paranoid smoker. And unlike most paranoid smokers, I don't even think Myrna would need to get all that lit for her to start losing her mind. An argument could be made that she would ruin the blunt rotation while sober. And hey, I'm not biased against Myrna because she's a conspiracy theorist. Heck, I dabble. In fact, I believe that the bombing of Shady Sands was a false flag operation, so you can't even pull that card on me. In fact, I think certain kinds of conspiracy theorists would be crazy to smoke up with. Joe Rogan? Where's that collab coming, dude? You won't answer my calls. I'm supposed to be on the podcast, remember? She might be a dreadhead, but she's anything but nonchalant, as first cunt Lynette, hence the name, is an absolute, well, cunt. She's probably my least favorite character in the Fallout franchise. Like, say what you will, comment whoever you want. Oliver Swannick, Preston Garvey, Private Kowalski, they all have like a minor-esque Fallout charm to them. While First Citizen Lynette is just a bitch. She feels so unlikable that she's just out of place in the franchise. She's racist, first of all. Huge no-no. She's chopped as fuck. And she's also just kind of narcissistic. She thinks she's all that in a bag of chips. I don't even think she'd want to be on the blunt rotation. She'd be like,
I'm not a failure. I'm too good for that shit. You guys can have fun. I hope you overdose and die!
However, I imagine if she somehow joined the blunt rotation, a few Scooby-Doobies deep, she'd be marginally more tolerable, as maybe it'll loosen that stick wedged up her ass. So for the mentally ill watching this, you might be saying, She doesn't belong in the Nightmare Follow blunt rotation.
Fuck you!
I ain't got a power trip. Who you going home with? She's still racist, and I have people of color later on the list, so even if it's the Nightmare Fallout blunt rotation, we want it to be an all-inclusive, family-friendly experience.
It just works. It just works. It just
Enough said.
works.
Also,
works.
please don't sue me, Todd. Also, please make Fallout 5, Todd. I can't do this shit much longer. Okay, so for any of you OG Fallout fans who nearly had an aneurysm when they saw Ian, let me explain. Okay, so Ian is actually a pretty decent character. Certainly a better character than anyone else on this list. However, in terms of gameplay, he is terrible with that SMG. I think in my first Fallout 1 playthrough, he shot me more than anyone we were fighting. There is no guarantee that if Ian is in the blunt rotation, anyone will live to see the end of it. Throw the devil's lettuce in the equation, and it really isn't looking good for everyone else in the room. Ian would be having a great time, though. And the same could be said for the people who aren't getting shot. But the problem is that the more ganja he smokes, the less people that is. So, this guy is a certified liability to the blunt rotation. Alright. So, it's at this point that you're probably starting to realize that I am gaining some sick sense of pleasure, the sexual kind, from talking about Myron. Clearly, since this is the third video in a row where I talk about Myron, I swear to God this is all just a string of coincidences. Myron is just applicable to every video on my channel. Would he let you milk him? Yeah. Does he let it crust? I don't remember. Would he be a nightmare to smoke up with? Yes. This creature won't leave me alone! So Myron gives off Chud Cell vibes. Like, he seems like the kind of guy who would just become a borderline offender on the Zaw. He's already creepy sober. Throw in the Zaw, and he's moving like prime Epstein. Except, he'd still be better because at least it wouldn't be kids. Myron would be the biggest incel ever on the Zaw. He'd be doing some extra devious hypotheticals, talking about the baddest bitches in Reno, and trying to score with Lynette and Myrna. And I feel like Myron would just be the guy in the corner who makes everybody uncomfortable, or says some really out-of-line shit. I could see Myron getting skinned alive by the end of the smoke session, not gonna lie. So Nazeem from Fallout 4 is an absolute stinker, eternally being tormented and murdered by the fandom for his crimes. What did he do? Get moved to the Cloud District. Yes, folks, that's right. Nazeem made it out of the suburbs and reached the Cloud District and hasn't been the same since. He's switched up on all his day ones at the first sign of clout. All jokes aside though, Nazeem doesn't shut up about the Cloud District. He gives off first cunt Lynette vibes. Not in the way you might think, but rather in the fact that they both think they're better than you, despite literally doing nothing. Nazeem, much like Lynette, is unlikely to even partake in the festivities, but if he did, I think he'd be less tolerable than Lynette while stoned. I don't really have a reason, it's just mostly vibes. I don't trust him. Okay guys, I have a confession. Here goes. Nazeem isn't from Fallout 4. Rather, he's from Far Harbor Fallout 4. I'm so sorry for this act of betrayal. This isn't me. I will strive to do better and never let a tragedy like this happen again. Alright gang, now with all of the major players of the blunt rotation set, I think it'd be pretty fun to kind of do like a description of how the session would play out and how everyone would interact with each other when Zaw enters the equation. The room is tense. Myron has already started pocket gooning. Lynette makes a racist comment against Nazeem, however, they both start bonding over the mutual stick up their rectums. The first Scooby-Dooby gets lit up and everyone starts to feel silly. Ian's finger slips. Snuffles gets gunned down and kills. Nobody bats an eye. Myron begins flirting with Lynette, but gets embarrassed. His pocket gooning has turned into edging. The second blunt starts getting passed around. Crazy Myrna begins accusing Nazeem of being a synth. She can tell he doesn't belong. Things get heated. Todd Howard. Lynette intervenes and starts giving people pieces of her mind. Nobody cares, and after a few more chud-like activities, Myron gets banished to the corner. Myron has been voted off the island. Ian's trigger finger begins to waver. His resolve is just being tested. Lynette and Nazeem slime out Myrna. Crazy Myrna has been eliminated. Just as the third blunt gets passed around, Ian guns everyone down and kills them. However, he suffers a devastating critical hit failure and dies. Todd Howard is the winner of the Nightmare Fallout Blunt rotation. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the Nightmare Fallout Blunt rotation. I hope I did blunt rotations in general more justice in this video than in the last one with, you know, how it flopped. I pray this video doesn't follow suit. It better not though, I made this with love. So yeah, if you liked the video or learned something, then please subscribe, as any amount helps. I'm still a small creator, I'm trying to change that. As always, huge thanks to members of the Discord server for helping me with the brainstorming process of this video, and huge thanks to you. Yes, you specifically, for making it this far and everything here possible. Now that I'm done yapping, God bless the Enclave. God bless America. Noodle God signing off.